The negligence of staff at some power stations is being blamed for some blackouts. Last month, Eskom Chief Operating Officer Jan Oberholzer said Eskom had lost units in some cases because of pure negligence. However, unions say it's unfair to try and blame staff who are trying to improvise because there are no spares available. We're joined now by the spokesperson for the National Union of Metalworkers, Phakamile Hlubi. Phakamile, thank you very much for joining us. We are seeing your picture, but it is not a live picture because as the situation is, you have been load shed, so you're joining us via the phone. Why do you believe that it is unfair for Eskom to blame staff?
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers, and thank you for having me on the show. I think we must not allow the current Eskom leadership to lull us into a state of amnesia, where we forget that prior to Andre de Ruyter and Jan Oberholzer arriving on the scene, there were other Eskom GCOs who were able to get rolling blackouts under control, and that they, because they are incapable and unsuitably qualified, are actually failing in their duties. The bottom line here, and this is something that MIMSA has raised sharply over and over again in every engagement that we've had formally with Eskom, is that particularly under the management of Andre de Ruyter as a GCO and Jan Oberholzer as the COO, that there has not been quality maintenance happening at Eskom. They have been failing to implement quality maintenance, and the simple reason is that these two people are ill-equipped to respond to the crisis of energy supply at Eskom. They just don't have the skills. That's it.
Phakamile, the fish rots from the head, right? But rotten it is. Is it fair to just apportion the blame to management? On Friday, the power utility did come out to announce that staff members and a supplier at Tutuga had been arrested in relation to the disappearance of spares worth millions of rands, which has impacted the production of Eskom.
Absolutely, it rots from the head. You just answered the question yourself, my sister. Who is the GCO of Eskom? It's Andre de Ruyter. Who is the COO of Eskom? It's Jan Oberholzer. And frankly, what they have been engaging in are distraction tactics to defer attention away from the public, from the very fact that they do not know what they're doing. Jan Oberholzer does not have the technical skills for the position of COO. He may have been working at Eskom, but his background is from distribution in sales. Andre de Ruyter is a lawyer with no engineering background. And if you look at in the history of Eskom and the kinds of appointments that have been made previously, Eskom has had GCOs with an engineering background. And the moment we deviated from that practice was the moment when we started to have problems. Let's not forget that when Brian Molefe was at the helm, load shedding was reduced. When Matela Koko was at the helm, they had the highest levels of maintenance and high energy availability. That's not the case now. So those who are responsible for running this entity must take ultimate responsibility for the fact that they have failed the South African public. And we will not be held to ransom through propaganda strategies that are currently being employed by various media houses to distract us from the reality that these two people, Jan Oberholzer and Andre de Ruyter, just don't have what it takes to run Eskom, and their inability is blatantly showing the lights are off.
What do you then propose be done with workers who have been found to have done wrong?
Well, first of all, we need to establish if indeed that was the reason for why we find ourselves in the situation that we're in. As I recall, just last week, Jan Oberholzer confirmed that the reason we have experienced systematic rolling blackouts is not as a result of sabotage, but what he claims is negligence. And if there are allegations of negligence, those things should be investigated, and those who are found responsible should be the ones to take responsibility. But at the same time, and I'm really calling on media houses, because I do feel very strongly that media houses have a role to play here. The very fact that media houses insist on calling rolling blackouts load shedding means that they are participating in the propaganda machinery of Eskom and the state. This is state-sanctioned rolling blackouts caused by incompetence, because there is technical incompetence at the highest level where we need people who have actual engineering abilities. We do not have people who have actual engineering abilities and are running these entities. And I think it's important that we must call a spade and not participate in attempts by Eskom to mislead the public about what the true problems are. NUMSA is on record from day one when Andre de Ruyter was appointed. We raised the alarm about the fact that it would be problematic to appoint someone who does not have the technical ability to such a position, because we will pay through blackouts. And we have unfortunately been proven right.
Please do help us, as you point out, right? It is our job to give accurate information. When you speak of state-sponsored propaganda, I hear you talk about qualifications, fair enough. What then further can you give us to give the public, to give proof that this is indeed state-sponsored propaganda or sabotage?
Well, as I said, first and foremost, let's put the right people at the top to run Eskom. You cannot continue with this situation as it is. They can't keep spinning the way that they've been spinning. The simple reality is that we have the ability to put load shedding under control. What is required is quality maintenance. It is an objective fact, and you can look this up under the reports that Eskom has issued, that during Matela Koko's tenure, they were doing maintenance at the highest levels at Eskom, and we had the lowest levels of rolling blackouts. That's a reality. So why are we not simply doing what we used to do in the past? Implement quality maintenance in the power plants. Make sure that you've got, at the highest level, people with the technical ability to actually implement that type of strategy. Unfortunately, the Ruyter and Oberholzer have shown us that they don't know and they are incapable. This has also even been revealed by reports that was done by the CSIR, showing that under their leadership, we have had the lowest energy availability in the history of Eskom. Those are very, very serious issues. And unfortunately, this is not something that we can afford to dismiss. Our economy is hanging in the balance because of incompetence and because of a refusal by this government to do the right thing and actually put capable people at the helm of these SOEs to turn them around and run them properly.
We're hinging this interview looking at, staff at Eskom being blamed for load shedding. NUMSA saying that this is highly unfair. Are you aware of the morale of Eskom staff?
We've said many times that the morale at Eskom is very low, in part caused by poor leadership at the top, by a lack of coordination in terms of trying to come up with a clear strategy of how to turn the entity around. At the same time, this management has been attacking workers and attacking their benefits. So you're expecting performance, but at the same time you're attacking the benefits of workers, you're threatening retrenchment. Let's look at the solutions that have been put out on the table to solve Eskom's problem. Eskom has a problem of ensuring stable electricity supply. So far, we've been told that if we privatize Eskom, we will have more power. Okay, so the process of privatization has started. The renewable energy independent power producers have been connected to the grid, and yet we still have load shedding. We still have rolling blackouts. And it tells you that the solutions that are on the table are not what is needed right now in order to assist us with this problem. And this is something that NUMSA has raised many times. Privatizing Eskom will only mean that private capital makes money, but it will not solve Eskom's problem. Eskom has a problem of maintenance. Maintain the power stations, you'll be able to stabilize the grid.
In December, you are meeting the employer at the CCMA on the unilateral implementation of a 1.5% salary increase. Are you able to give us more details as to what's happening with that process?
Well, this is an issue that is being dealt with through arbitration. We are going to present evidence to the arbitrator to basically argue the fact that we believe that the process was unfair, and we will have to present evidence to that effect. We hope that the arbitrator will find in our favor. We believe principally, if you look at, for example, the fact that NERSA, in its own determination, made an allocation for workers to receive at least 5% increase, we find it completely outrageous that Eskom would turn around and impose a 1.5% increase. We feel that they failed to demonstrate the rationale for that during wage talks. So we're hoping that this process will reverse that outcome, because it really, as far as we're concerned, was blatantly unfair and, in our view, is not justifiable.
Phakamile Hlubi speaks for NUMSA. Thank you for your time this morning.